The WWF, what the world is watching. Turn it on and rip the knob off.
Hey guys, and welcome back to the Wrestling Memory Grenade, now at episode 125. And we are alive, guys. We kick it all off this week talking about April TV for 1988 in the World Wrestling Federation. And as always, I am your host, Ray Russell, to bring you all of this great Hulkamania era goodness here on the Grenade Show. And just a reminder right out of the gate, by the time you're listening to this program, me and the missus should be up in the air headed to Orlando, Florida for Barry Rose and Captain Nick Massey's Glory Days GrappleCon event coming up this Saturday, April 20th. Head over to eventbrite.com right now and get your tickets, guys. It's going to be a fun time. Over 30 talents, both past and present, going to be part of the event. There's a Stan Hansen Q&A the night before. Saturday morning, Ron Simmons Q&A, a Legends of the Sportatorium, Legends of World Class panel with a half a dozen Dallas legends conducted by, get this, legendary announcer Mark Lawrence. And if that wasn't all, cap off your night with Jack Victory, a shot of Jack with Jack Victory. What a way to go. And that's all coming up this Saturday in Orlando, the Rosen Center Hotel. It's the Glory Days GrappleCon, guys. Be a part of it. And with that said, another quick reminder that you guys can listen to the Grenade Show, but you can also listen to shows like the Regional Wrestling Podcast, where we talk the territories, currently covering 3 projects over there: Georgia 81, UWF 86, and Memphis 85 as part of that podcast. You can also listen to The Wrestling Stoop with the legend himself, Bob Roop, and the Pro Wrestling Academy with the professor of Pro Resu, Mr. Dan Gennety. You can listen to all of those podcasts and more, all part of the WrestleCopia Podcast Network, located over at WrestleCopia.com. That's WrestleCopia.com, and anywhere your podcast streaming needs are met, from Apple to Spotify, Pocket Cast, and beyond. And don't forget to follow me on social media, guys, for all the latest goings on here around the WrestleCopia Network. And you can find me over on X, formerly Twitter, at Wrestling Grenade. That's at RASSLIN Grenade. Also, follow and like me, Facebook.com/Wrestling Grenade. And don't forget to subscribe to YouTube.com/Wrestling Grenade. Tons of great videos, over 600 videos over there right now at YouTube. And last but certainly not least, now would be a fantastic time to become a WrestleCopia patron. And I'm talking about that $5 all-access tier located over at patreon.com/WrestleCopia. That address again, patreon.com/WrestleCopia, where you get so many gifts for just $5, including all of my insanely details for this show right here, The Grenade, but also the Regional Wrestling Podcast and good old Monday Warfare. You'll also get remastered versions of the earliest episodes of The Grenade Show, covering the 1989 NWA project. Includes enhanced sound quality, plus new content and conversation you've never heard before. Then from there, it's early access to many of the podcasts here on the WrestleCopia Network, where you can listen days and sometimes as much as a week earlier than the rest of the listeners. But that's still not all. You also get digital downloads for your viewing and reading pleasure. Just dropped 16 brand new digital downloads this past week, guys. And you'll also get random bonus video drops. Videocasts are on the way. WrestleMania IV videocasts coming very soon. And of course, the Patreon exclusive Watch Along series, covering many past WWF and WCW events. And you get all of that for the low, low price of just $5. No subscription, cancel anytime. Give it a try for a month. I think you'll like all the content that I offer, and every penny of it goes right back here into paying the bills to keep the WrestleCopia Podcast Network and all of the wonderful shows here up and running for the months and the years to come. And all right, guys, that'll do it with the ads as we head off now to the April 2nd, 1988 edition of the WWF's superstars of wrestling. All right, and away we go. Post-Mania season, guys, but this was actually taped pre-Mania, taped back March 9th in Winston-Salem, North Carolina at the Coliseum. It's Vince McMahon and Jesse the Body Ventura on commentary. And we kick things off straight away announcing our brand new, undisputed WWF champion, the Macho Man, Randy Savage, as we go off immediately to highlights from WrestleMania IV. But it's not just any ordinary highlight, you see. We get clips of all 4 of Macho Man's tournament matches, including the entire sequence, including the finish of the finals, where Savage downs the $1 Million Man Ted DiBiase, courtesy of a little help from a fellow by the name of Hulk Hogan, brother. But what a great package it was to kick off the show. Runs 9 minutes long. And it's crazy, though, how much footage they're giving away from the pay-per-view directly after the event. And more to come. We're going to see more from some of the other matches here. But they'll wind up learning from this moving forward. Don't give away too much, pal. Nevertheless, a magical job here by the production team with this video, wrapping up the tournament in a nutshell, basically. And it makes Macho Man look like $1 million. No pun intended, Teddy. As Randy Savage crowned the brand new, undisputed WWF champion. And what an opening segment. What a way to kick things off here this week. It's a new era here in the WWF, and I, for one, can't wait to jump into things. So post-commercial break, well, the squash matches this week don't really start until about a quarter of a way through the program, but for those who missed WrestleMania IV, I bet they love that first segment. As we head off now to see ravishing Rick Rude in the ring with manager Bobby the Brain Heenan, Rick taking on Eric Cooper, and Rude asking for all the southern swamp sows to keep the noise down as he shows off his ravishing body. We also get an insert promo here from Bobby Heenan, who hypes the upcoming debut of Rick's other Rude Awakening, as starting next week, the ladies will be lining up for a chance to kiss the ravishing one. Get ready and pucker up, says the Brain. As the action gets going here, Rude going to dominate, delivering a top rope fist drop, and of course the Rude Awakening neckbreaker going to get the win in 1 minute and 51 seconds as they continue to add to the Rude gimmick week after week. And now the kiss routine right around the corner. And up next on the program, away we go with the debut edition of the Event Center. This week hosted by Mean Gene Okerlund.
Let's take you now to the World Wrestling Federation Event Center.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we experienced and eyewitnessed some phenomenal action last Sunday afternoon at Trump Plaza Hotel and Casino in Atlantic City. I could only be talking about WrestleMania IV, the wrestling extravaganza of the year. By the way, some major changes. You're going to be hearing about them during the course of this hour this week. Also, let me comment on the match between the Mighty Hercules from the Bobby Heenan family and the Ultimate Warrior. What a seesaw battle. I'll tell you what, these two strongmen fought tooth and nail for all of the pride that one could get with a big victory in WrestleMania IV. As a matter of fact, we got comments from both men.
After all is said and done, after all the wars have been waged, Warrior, can you honestly look at yourself in the mirror? Can you stand there and tell me that you have the guts to face me in the ring one more time? Warrior, I told you that I would prevail. I told you that you would be mine. And every single word that came out of my mouth has been the truth. Warrior, this time, there will be no unanswered questions. This time, there will only be quick and certain defeat for you.
You know, Ultimate Warrior, there's only one question you have to ask yourself. Can you handle this man? No. You're the ultimate fool.
Hercules like the writing on the wall from our great forefathers from beyond. There will never be a time when neither you or I will care about the things that other normal people do. Abnormal is the way of life for us. We care not for nobody or anything. Only you, Hercules, and I to you can give you what you want and you to me. The challenge of combat. The challenge to prove to one another who deserves to stand atop the many men that have already fallen. You, Hercules, will fall like the others have. I promise.
I do not think that we have heard the end of the feud between the Ultimate Warrior and Mighty Hercules. Certainly, they are two of the strongest men in any sport today here on the World Wrestling Federation. We're right back.
Wow, the very first ever event center, guys, post WrestleMania IV. You want to know where it started? It started right here, conducted by Mean Gene. And of course, this new idea, rather than the localized promos, still in its infancy here. So the event center simply being hosted here in the old update desk. And the very first promos we hear as part of this event center, Hercules, the Mighty Hercules and the Ultimate Warrior coming out of WrestleMania IV. The Warrior got the win, but Hercules wants to know, does UW have the guts to face the Mighty One more time? In response, I think the Warrior accepted the challenge. Not quite sure exactly what he said in that promo, as he refers to himself and Hercules as abnormal. So it does indeed appear the feud continues on between the two larger-than-life superstars here, Hercules and the Ultimate Warrior, coming to a house show near you as we roll on a WrestleMania IV report with Mean Gene, recorded back at Trump Plaza with that cool backdrop. I liked it anyway. Earlier, we saw how the Macho Man conquered the tournament to become the WWF champion, and now we see highlights of the tag team title match, including the entire finish, as Demolition defeats Strikeforce to be crowned the brand new WWF Tag Team Champions. Boy, they're just giving away the pay-per-view here on TV, and right out of the gate. It's also at this point in the report that we go back to the first round and see how Andre the Giant helped cost Hacksaw Jim Duggan his opening round match against the $1 Million Man. Of course, Andre reaching in, grabbing hold of Hacksaw's leg, preventing him from delivering that three-point stance clothesline. From there, the Giant clocking Duggan, leading to the finish. Ted DiBiase, of course, advancing all the way to the finals there. But it all started with this match with Duggan. And we're going to head off now to hear a little part of this report. It's a post-match promo conducted just moments after that matchup with the Hacksaw.
Post-match comments came from Hacksaw Jim Duggan. He was not happy.
The one chance I had, the one dream of a lifetime, and you, Andre the Giant, took that away from me. I had things going my way. I was setting for the old three-point spear on DiBiase when you tripped me. Well, let me tell you something, Giant. It doesn't matter where you are. If it happens in the airport, if it happens in a parking lot, or if it happens in the arena, when I see your large frame standing somewhere, Hacksaw Jim Duggan's going to stomp up to you, put my 2x4 on my side, look you in the eye and tell you, I want you man on man, mano on mano, anytime, tough guy. Hey!
Later on.
Well, Duggan does not sound too happy. Seems to me he's more upset with Andre than he is with the $1 Million Man. And rightfully so. Andre cost Duggan that opening round matchup. And it sounds like Duggan has unfinished business with the eighth wonder of the world. As we roll on back to the ring, The Rock, Don Muraco, with superstar Billy Graham, taking on George Petrasky, as we get an insert promo from Vanna White during this match, who simply had a great time at WrestleMania IV. On commentary, Jesse Ventura implying that he had some sort of perhaps a sexual encounter with Vanna over the weekend, but Vince suggests that Vanna, she's too classy of a lady for the body's claims. But you got to think, throwing this as a backdrop for your match, poor Don Muraco, doesn't shine the brightest of light on the future of The Rock. But we'll see. And it's good to see the superstar Graham out here, still with Muraco post-Mania, even if it was recorded before. Clearly they have some plans to keep these two together. If you remember, guys, they actually introduced Billy Graham as Don Muraco's new manager. I think it was all the way back in January for one taping, and then Graham immediately disappears thereafter for like 2 months. But he does indeed appear to be back full-time, at least for the moment. He was indeed at WrestleMania. As the action gets going here, George Petrasky the future Russian brute in the AWA, but a job guy here in the World Wrestling Federation. Misses actually a decent-looking stinger splash into the corner, and Muraco going to take over, showing off his skills. Nice suplex, knee lift, power slam, and an impressive tombstone pile driver on the large Petrasky. Going to give Don Muraco the win, 1 minute and 49 seconds. As we roll off now to a special interview. Craig DeGeorge standing up on the stage with the Doctor of Style Slick and his Bolsheviks, Nikolai Volkov and Boris Zukov, as Slick says that everyone knows that Russia has the best athletes. They've won more medals than any other country in the Olympics, and the Bolsheviks are the best of the bunch. As then from there, it's Nikolai and Boris singing the Soviet national anthem, as I guess they're given their quarterly token stage time here. We don't see it often, but the Bolsheviks getting a quote-unquote promo. So clearly they are still factored in to the plans here in some way, shape, or form, as we head back to the ring for Bad News Brown taking on Phil Newkirk. And we get an insert promo straight away from the Hitman, Bret Hart, who talks getting screwed by Bad News at WrestleMania IV in the Battle Royal. That lousy, stinking hyena. Referees turning a blind eye. But the Hitman, he wants Brown to know he doesn't get mad, he gets even. Or he goes on social media and bitches about it for a couple decades. Tomato, tomato. Just kidding. I love the Hitman, guys. And much like at WrestleMania IV, Bad News going to jumping Newkirk before the bell can even sound. And the onslaught continues until Newkirk put out of his misery with the Ghetto Blaster. Bad News going to go over 2 minutes and 6 seconds. And then post-match, Bad News going to stand over top of his opponent, smack him around, and then pitch Newkirk over the top rope and out to the floor. What a heel. Is up next, it's a WWF fundraiser promo promising to bring you the very best a D show could buy. And then it's back to the ring for Bam Bam Bigelow out here with manager Oliver Humperdinck taking on Conquistador #1. Or is that numero uno? Clearly, it's Jose Luis Rivera in the Conquistador costume this week, as we get an insert promo now from Bob Uecker, who also loved WrestleMania IV, calling it the biggest sporting event ever, even bigger than WrestleMania III. Boy, talk about doing what's asked of you. God bless the Uke. As at first glance here, Bam Bam Bigelow appears to be getting back into full form. Cartwheel over top of the Conquistador, and then a standing drop kick on the other side. But in reality, this was taped last month before Bigelow had that setback with his knee in mid-March. And then, of course, he further aggravates the injury and adds to it at WrestleMania. But he looked great here, maybe not so much in real time. Good thing they have a few weeks off after the pay-per-view, as Bigelow going to put the Conquistador away with the slingshot splash, 1 minute and 25 seconds. And now we head back to the event center once more. Mean Gene Okerlund conducting this segment as we hear from the brand new WWF Tag Team Champions, Demolition, and the former champions, Strikeforce.
All right, hi again, everyone. This is Gene Okerlund back in the World Wrestling Federation Event Center with tremendous news here on Wrestling Challenge. First of all, let's go back just a couple of weeks. Let's go back to Atlantic City, New Jersey, and WrestleMania IV, the big championship elimination tournament that established the undisputed World Wrestling Federation champion as Macho Man Randy Savage. And the Macho Man is the first to admit he could not have done it without the lovely Elizabeth, now the First Lady of Wrestling. And is she a sweetheart? There are also new tag team champions effective at WrestleMania IV. They are Axe and Smash the Demolition. They should be watching out for Strikeforce, because I guarantee you the Force is going to be hot on their heels. You know that, Demolition.
You know, Strikeforce, it's a little bit more than professional wrestling when you got those pretty little faces and all the little girls are screaming and yelling for you. Who cares? Because when Master Fuji points at Ken and we kick your teeth in, you ain't pretty no more, are you?
You know you're feeling all alone. You're feeling sorry for yourself. You look at each other and you don't have the championship belt anymore. You feel upset. What are you gonna do about it? You can cry, you can bellyache, but you have to come back in the ring. And I really don't believe the Strikeforce wants to do that. It's not gonna be pretty. You wanna try? Come on, boys, try again.
Demolition and Mr. Fuji, we knew going into the match in WrestleMania IV that it was going to be a brutal match. What we didn't know was when you, Fuji, was going to stick your nose in our match. You gave us everything you had, and it wasn't good enough, was it, Mr. Fuji? You had to stick your nose with that no-good cane. I promise you one thing, what Strikeforce has will be good enough, and the belts will be around our waist, baby.
Yes, we sacrificed too much. We've worked too hard to win those belts, to let you, Demolition, and Fuji take them away from us. That way, I guarantee you, you're going to pay for it. We're coming back after you, and you're not going to like it. I guarantee you, we're going to take those belts back where they belong.
You're going to be eating some cane, Fuji.
All right, you can take that one to the bank. I guarantee you that is going to be a battle, a war, all combined into one when Strikeforce challenges Demolition to try to regain the World Tag Team title belts.
Axe telling the former champs not to feel sorry for yourselves. If you want the belts back, come and take them. What badass heels. God, I love Demolition. Obviously, Strikeforce on the other side hot about the way the titles changed hands. Axe using Mr. Fuji's cane. And Rick Martel, Tito Santana looking to regain the championship gold. Arriba! And it's back to the ring. Wow, we don't see this every week. Andre the Giant in preliminary action here. Wow, Andre in a squash in 1988. Last year, post-Mania, he disappeared from the ring directly after the pay-per-view and didn't return, at least in the ring, for a good 8 months. This year, he's right back to it, guys. But noticeably absent here, no $1 Million Man Ted DiBiase, not even a Virgil after the pay-per-view, but also no Bobby Heenan. Andre out here all by himself to take on poor Brian Costello. And Andre appears to be disgusted out here by the caliber of opponent that they gave him as he attacks poor Costello before the bell with multiple headbutts and then pitches him out to the floor. And Mr. Costello wisely doesn't return as this match appears to be thrown out. But things are just starting to get good because out comes, Hacksaw Jim Duggan. Is Hacksaw going to issue a direct challenge on the microphone? It's open mic night. Duggan issuing a challenge, mano a mano, to Andre the Giant. Tough guy. Andre, though, gonna laugh it off, but it was all a distraction, as he then attacks Duggan, wrapping his giant hands around the throat of Hacksaw, attempting to choke the life out of Duggan here, who is indeed, to quote the gorilla, on Rubber Leg Street. Duggan begins to go out, and it appears that his mouth is bleeding, blood pouring down his face. Good visual here for this angle we have in front of us, and Andre choking Duggan now with his single strap, taking Duggan down to his knee. Is Andre then going to begin laying in the headbutts? And this looks like it could be all for our hero, as Hacksaw, though, realizes he's close enough to reaching down, reaches over, and grabbing his equalizer, while down on his knee, his trusty 2x4. And as Andre goes for another headbutt, Duggan clocking the Giant with the 2x4 square between the eyes. And down goes Andre. Down goes the Giant. Andre down, flat on his back. Both men collapse to the mat, but Duggan able to get back to his feet. Meanwhile, it appears that Andre the Giant is out cold. And what a sight to see the Giant knocked completely out. And the crowd loses their fucking mind. You don't see this every week, guys. Hacksaw Jim Duggan appears to have slayed Andre the Giant. Unbelievable. As we go off now to collect our thoughts, Mean Gene Okerlund one more time in the event center. This time we're going to hear from the $1 Million Man Ted DiBiase and the brand new, undisputed WWF champion, the Macho Man.
A ton of surprises last Sunday afternoon at Trump Plaza in Atlantic City. After it was all over, I had the opportunity to sit down and talk to Donald Trump. And we, of course, discussed the big championship elimination tournament. There is now a new undisputed World Wrestling Federation heavyweight champ. He is the Macho Man, Randy Savage. However, the man that met him in the final round, Ted DiBiase, had some comments about it all.
You must be feeling really macho now, Randy Savage. You had the whole world behind you at WrestleMania IV. You had Elizabeth in your corner, and you had Hulk Hogan. And now you've got that gold belt around your waist, a gold belt that rightfully belongs to me. That's right, Savage. With everything you had, You were at my mercy. I had you where I wanted you. I proved to you and the whole wrestling world that I am, without a doubt, the premier athlete in wrestling today. I'm the richest and I'm the best, and I will not be denied. There'll be no Hulk Hogan to save you now, Randy Savage, and what's Elizabeth gonna do? And as always, Virgil will be in my corner, and I will have that belt.
The Undisputed World Wrestling Federation champion, yeah. What a thing, yeah. What a thing and what a feeling. A feeling that you won't have, Ted DiBiase, because you're not even close, yeah. I'm thinking that you would rather be rich and dead than poor and alive. And where money lies, honor dies, yeah. My manager, the manager of the champion, Elizabeth. Wow. Look through the video scope and tell the people how you feel right now.
Oh, I'm excited. I can't believe
You're
it.
excited and I'm excited. And Ted DiBiase right now, you're sitting on the couch brooding like a spoiled brat. Well, pay your dues, man. Come see me anytime and try to get this.
Hey, what about the First Lady of Wrestling, Elizabeth, manager for the Macho Man, Randy Savage, now the Undisputed World Wrestling Federation heavyweight champ. Ted DiBiase certainly is not going to give up on getting the title.
All right, DiBiase ignoring the fact that Andre was at his corner at WrestleMania, balking at Hulk Hogan aiding the Macho Man in stealing his title. DiBiase coming back for the gold, and he says next time there will be no Hulk Hogan in your corner, dude. As the Macho Man got a rebut there, we heard the spoiled rich kid referring to Ted DiBiase. You'll never know what it feels like to be the undisputed champion. Savage telling Teddy to pay your dues and come and take it. And then bringing in the lovely Liz to close things out here, putting her over as well. So what a package, the Macho Man and Miss Liz, the brand new WWF champion. But Ted DiBiase hot on his heels. He won't go away that easy, Mach. And we return now from break, and we learn that Andre the Giant was out cold for a good 5 minutes, guys. Wow. As we see him finally recovering here, Andre finally sitting up in the ring, but it appears by knocking Andre out, Hacksaw has indeed awoke a sleeping giant, because Andre getting to his feet and in a rage, attacking every official in sight left and right, stomping on an attendant's head. Oh, that was nasty. And blasting a poor cameraman, knocking him off the apron. In pursuit now of one Hacksaw Jim Duggan, Andre stomping backstage, and he looks pissed off. Oh my, I wouldn't want to be in the path of the eighth wonder of the world right now. Look out, Hacksaw. But what a hot segment. Nobody has ever knocked Andre the Giant out. Very few have even knocked him off his feet. Now, granted, Duggan did use the 2x4 here, but Andre, he played the angry giant so awesome. In reality, though, remember, guys, this was taped before WrestleMania, but as the story is being told here on TV, this was Duggan's revenge for Andre costing him the tournament match at WrestleMania. But what a hot way to start post-Mania season. The WWF clearly showing their support for Duggan to put him in a spot like this. And Andre, well, it's clear he agreed to do it. Not sure he had much of a choice by 1988, but he did his part well. And kudos as the post-WrestleMania feuds begin. Hacksaw Jim Duggan and Andre the Giant. As we roll off now to the following day, April 3rd, and Wrestling Challenge. All right, away we go. April 3rd, Wrestling Challenge. Tape back March 8th in Bristol, Tennessee at Viking Hall. With Bobby the Brain Heenan, Gorilla Monsoon on commentary, we get a replay of the WrestleMania IV report. Once again, seeing the Demolition going over on Strikeforce. We hear that post-match promo with Hacksaw Jim Duggan gunning for Andre the Giant, which we already saw in Superstars. So it's off to the ring to see the King, Harley Race, with Bobby Heenan by his side, taking on Jim Evans. And again, I have to remind you, this was taped prior to the pay-per-view, which was Race's actual last match until the fall season, when he finally returns from that major surgery. Is Harley about to have a portion of his intestines removed here soon in the spring of 1988. We get an insert promo here from Robin Leach, who absolutely loved WrestleMania IV. Well, Robin, did you love when Hulk Hogan came over and snatched the belt from you and didn't even allow the presenter of the championship belt to present the title? Well, he got a payday, I'm sure. That's all that really mattered at the end of the day. And with Bobby Heenan ringside, it's Gorilla Monsoon solo on commentary, so he spends the time discussing Bobby's ridiculous outfit. Remember the Attack Dog trainer outfit at WrestleMania IV? Gorilla going to mention that President Jack Tunney has barred Heenan from ever wearing that suit at any future events. I'm sure Bobby was fine with that, in real life anyway. As in the ring, it's the King with a nice clothesline, shoulder breaker, and a vertical suplex. Before the cradle suplex, no bridge, going to get the win in just 1 minute and 15 seconds. And Harley Race was actually factored into work with Jake the Snake Roberts after WrestleMania on the house shows, while they built up that Snake Rude feud. But with the King sidelined, that will obviously change. As we continue on here, tag team action, going to see the Killer Bees, Jump and Jim Brunzell and B. Brian Blair, battle the team of Dave Wagner and Pete Sanchez. And Bobby Heenan going to rejoin commentary. He has to pretend to be upset about the banning of that Attack Dog outfit. Now, in reality, Bobby has stated many a times that he absolutely hated wearing that thing. He said he couldn't do anything in it, couldn't take a bump, couldn't perform a move, and at the end of the day, it was just super hot. As the Bees going to control this one most of the way, and honestly, they're pretty over here with the crowd. Pete Sanchez going to get in a few shots, but he accidentally blasts his own partner, knocking Wagner off the apron, and then Jumping Jim able to make the tag out to B. Brian Blair, who is a house of fire, landing his bee sting, the old butt, shout out to Iceman Parsons, the butt on Pete Sanchez before tagging back to Brunzy, who's in with the big drop kick, sending him back to Hazel's Honey Hut, no doubt, as the Bees going to pick up the win, 3 minutes and 2 seconds. As we are off now to the event center, Mean Gene with the one-man gang, his manager Slick, and then we're going to hear from the other side, Bam Bam Bigelow and Oliver Humperdinck.
All right, here we go again, hot on the heels of last Sunday afternoon at Trump Plaza Hotel and Casino in Atlantic City in WrestleMania IV. Surprises? You had better believe there were surprises. What about that gigantic championship elimination tournament? In the finals, it was Ted DiBiase and Macho Man Randy Savage, as everybody knows by now, crowned as the Undisputed World Wrestling Federation champion. Macho Man Randy Savage, so much on radio, television, and in print over the past 7 days regarding that big title bout and the championship elimination tournament in Atlantic City. In the first round, it was Bam Bam Bigelow facing the one-man gang. What a shootout it was.
You know, whenever I think about Bam Bam Bigelow, the first thing that comes to my mind is something the equivalent of a hippopotamus. You talking about a guy that come to the World Wrestling Federation on a Greyhound, been here 6 or 7 months, and haven't made enough money to get back home because he don't have what it takes to stand face to face, head to head, and toe to toe with a man the stature. That's right, baby. 483 pounds, 6 feet 9 inches of the one-man gang. Well, remember, Bam Bam Bigelow, when it comes to dealing with the gangster, you'll always be number 2 because your chances are slim and none.
Two of the largest athletes in the world today, I'm talking Bam Bam Bigelow and the one-man gang, are on a collision course. And when they meet, there'll be a shockwave heard around the world. You're looking at part of the world behind me now. But Mr. One-Man Gang, you talk about what you're going to do. Slick, you talk about what he's going to do. You're talking about the Master Blaster. Well, you're looking at the Master Blaster right here, brother. 390 pounds of flame, smoke, and fire. And that spells trouble for you, Mr. Gang.
Gang, you talk about the Master Blaster. Let me tell you something, pal. You play with fire, and you're going to get burned, man. You're going to get burned. You're going down.
You kind of wonder if Slick wasn't a bit rejected by Bam Bam Bigelow. He never chose him as his manager. I'll tell you what, I'm certain we have not heard the end of the one-man gang and Bam Bam Bigelow. Stay tuned, folks. We're right back.
Well, the battle of the big men rages on. The feud kind of escalated as part of their opening round match at WrestleMania, Slick aiding the gang in the elimination of one Bigelow. So WrestleMania actually gives these guys cause for the feud to continue into the spring. A hippopotamus? Slick. Really? From there, it's the replay, the big 10-minute package of Randy Savage, the title tournament highlights capturing the Undisputed Championship, and then it's back to the ring for the Bolsheviks in tag team action with their manager Slick taking on the duo of Scott Casey and Alden Kinsey. As we get an insert promo here from Vanna White, perfect match to put that in. Vanna said, once again, she loved WrestleMania. And now Bobby Heenan, too, laying claim that he also slept with Vanna over the pay-per-view weekend. And clearly, Vanna never watched this, so I guess she'll never know. But as the action gets rolling, it's Scott Casey on the offense to start, laying in a few shots and a nice sunset flip. Tries to pin Boris Zukov here, but to no avail. So Casey going to tag out to partner Kinsey, who simply gets eaten alive by the Russians here. Volkov going to crack Kinsey coming off the ropes, blasting him with a clothesline to the back of the head, and then Alden staggering into a Boris Zukov Russian hammer. Double axe handle across the chest. Nikolai tagging in and simply making the cover, giving the Bolsheviks the win, 1 minute and 39 seconds. As we go off now to Craig DeGeorge and a special interview up on the stage. This week he interviews The Rock, Don Muraco, and his new manager, Superstar Billy Graham. And the Superstar going to put over Muraco for aiding him several months back, saving Graham's career, maybe his life, from Slick Stern Company. And now Graham returning the favor by coaching The Rock to the top of the World Wrestling Federation, referring to Don as the next star of the 1980s. Unfortunately, Billy, the 80s are just about over. And then it happens, guys. Don Muraco, we take a look at him, standing now in tie-dye, cutting a promo and rhyming, much like the Superstar before him, clearly trying to pass the gimmick of Superstar Graham over to The Rock here in 1988, and I think it's safe to say we all know it just didn't work. Didn't work for me anyway. And I love Don Muraco, especially in his prime. And I enjoyed the Superstar in his prime as well. And I don't even mind the pairing here. I'm glad they're trying to do something with Muraco, but I say let Don be Don. But again, at least they're trying to keep Muraco relevant. What with those hoses and all, pal? Ah, those hoses, yeah. Then it's back to the ring for the Outlaw Ron Bass taking on Rick Hunter. You got to believe Miss Betsy out there somewhere ringside. Outlaw mauling Hunter all over the ring. Now Ricky does come back, get a couple of sneak roll-ups here, but Bass able to kick out and cut Hunter off with a big clothesline to the side of the head. Ugh. Bass then going to dominate here as Gorilla Monsoon on commentary, even admitting that Outlaw, he's one tough hombre. As the Texas Gourd Buster, the Outlaw's version of the pedigree, if you will, finally going to do Ricky Hunter in here. Ron Bass picking up the win, 2 minutes and 31 seconds. And up next on the show, we're scheduled for a match featuring the Junkyard Dog. But as JYD makes his way down to ringside, he runs into Ron Bass at the end of the aisleway as the Outlaw is exiting ringside. Uh-oh, I smell an angle alert, guys. Junkyard Dog in the path of the Outlaw, trying to pass Ron Bass, but like a bully, the Outlaw's standing in the Dog's path, refusing to let him pass. Ron Bass inferring to JYD that you gotta go through me to get to that thar ring. But the Dog, never one to back down, simply raises his hand, which also just happens to be holding his dog chain. And the Outlaw, he has second thoughts. Okay, Dog, you can pass. So Bass finally letting JYD pass him in the aisleway, but immediately as JYD passes by the Outlaw, it's Ron Bass wrapping the bullwhip Miss Betsy around the throat of JYD, dragging and choking away at the Dog in the aisle. This goes on for some time here. Outlaw Ron Bass choking the life out of the Dog here. JYD even frothing at the mouth as officials try and pull Ron Bass away. And the Outlaw finally going to release the chokehold, but the damage already done, laid out as JYD, as you got to think this is clearly attempted murder on TV. But it's pro wrestling, so I guess we just ignore that. But as I look at the two men involved in this angle here, I wrote, sad how far the Dog has fallen. Once upon a time, a semi-main eventer, 1985, 1986, working with the likes of Terry Funk. But I will say Ron Bass finally being utilized here, at least to some degree, after 15 months in the company. And while JYD versus the Outlaw not going to make for the most quality of matches at the house shows, at least they're trying to give all of the house show matches some meaning behind them, and I give them credit for that. So add yet another feud to the list here after WrestleMania. It's the Outlaw and the Junkyard Dog. As we go off now to the Event Center, we're going to hear from the King, Harley Race, and Jake the Snake Roberts.
All right, let's go back to the big one on Sunday afternoon, March the 27th. History made at WrestleMania IV at Trump Plaza Hotel and Casino in Atlantic City, New Jersey. One of the matches I've got to talk about, Demolition, who are now the new World Wrestling Federation Tag Team Champions, and Strikeforce. Strikeforce had the title defense. And, of course, you know about Mr. Fuji, manager for Demolition. He threatened, he intimidated, and his work ethic unrelenting. But it all worked out for Mr. Fuji, because now Demolition are the new World Wrestling Federation Tag Team Champions. Couple of men I'm sure we're going to be seeing in action in the very near future against each other, the King and the Snake.
I stand here the king. I will remain the king when it's all said and done. No snake, no serpent, or no mortal human being shall disbow the king. I am the ultimate of everything when it comes to wrestling. And Snake, I don't care what you come with. I don't care what kind of mind games you want to play with people. When you tell them that the king will bow, he bows to no mortal human being. He bows to no snake. And more, let me tell you, I bow to you.
What does winning mean to me, Mr. Race? I'll tell you what winning means to me. Intimidation, setting the phase of the game that I want to use. That's what you do, too, so you got your own game. The thing is, though, Harley Race, the most important thing about any athlete is the attitude the man's got. It's easy to sit back in the back and say, hey, I'm going to beat this guy when you're lacing up those boots and putting that tape on. It's real easy then. It's easy for Bobby Heenan to tell you how good you are, even though he lies through his teeth. But the attitude, man, able to keep that attitude through that whole match after you've been slapped a couple of times, after somebody's drove a knee into your gut, that's the difference. And I can keep that attitude because you see something about me. I always make myself happy.
Of course, Jake the Snake Roberts not having a lot of good things to say about His Highness King Harley Race. And, of course, His Majesty really doesn't have a whole lot of good things to say about anybody.
Harley Race claiming to be the ultimate of everything. But alas, the feud that never was. As we learned, Harley, he would have played a foil for Jake the Snake Roberts until Jake and Rude were primed and ready. Unfortunately, it doesn't shake out that way. As we head back now, once again, singles action. Olympic strongman Ken Patera taking on Jose Luis Rivera. And it's right now we go off to an insert promo from Mr. Baseball himself. Here he is, Bob Uecker.
Hi again, everybody. Bob Uecker, and I thought WrestleMania III was the greatest thing that ever happened to me. Not so. WrestleMania IV was the Super Bowl, the World Series, and the Stanley Cup playoffs. And I was there. What a great time.
Always good to hear from the Uke. Another wise choice of match to overthrow as well here with Ken Patera in the ring. As Uecker says, he loved him some WrestleMania, and we love you, Uke. And then it happens. On commentary, Gorilla Monsoon scares us all when he teases that Dino Bravo is reportedly unhappy with Ken Patera's claims of being a strongman, because you see there's only enough room for one strongman here in the World Wrestling Federation, and I guess that's apparently Dino Bravo. As the action gets going, it's Patera overpowering Jose Luis for most of the matchup, but it's all just the very basics. Kenny can't do a whole lot. Kenny's already been limited coming out of prison as it was, and then ever since that arm injury, even less from Patera in the ring here. But at least the clunky arm brace is gone at this point, as Patera locking in that full Nelson, gonna get the submission win, 2 minutes and 16 seconds. Well, for those who were cringing at the Outlaw Junkyard Dog feud coming out of WrestleMania, you've got another feud to consider being the worst of all time, Ken Patera and Dino Bravo. Would have been awesome in 1978. 1988, not so much. But either way, 2 new feuds established here on Wrestling Challenge, and I'm thinking we're probably not the better for it. Because you see, quantity does not always equal quality. Nevertheless, the WWF working hard with house show feuds coming out of the pay-per-view, and we're going to see another one right now. We'll talk about it on the other side. Off to the Event Center, as Greg the Hammer Valentine slated to go into a feud with one Ricky the Dragon Steamboat.
All right, some other big revelations effective WrestleMania IV on March the 27th of this year at Trump Plaza Hotel and Casino in Atlantic City. And Donald Trump, by the way, a tremendously gracious and generous host for us in the World Wrestling Federation. The establishment of new tag team champions in the WWF. They are Demolition, Axe, and Smash. They down Strikeforce. And by the way, I should point out the Demolition managed by Mr. Fuji. You know about his background, certainly accepted as a world-class wrestler. And, of course, a very devious manager. He's proven that. A couple of men that met in the first round of WrestleMania IV in the elimination tournament are Ricky Steamboat and Greg the Hammer Valentine. We talked to both men.
You know something, Greg Valentine? I don't have an ego problem. 1988 in the Oriental calendar states the year of the dragon. You look it up and you'll see it, and that's exactly the way it prints. But this has been my year to dedicate everything that I do in this profession towards my son, my little boy. So I'm telling you right now, Greg Valentine, that you are on a no-win situation. Every time you knock me down, I get back up. Every time you kick me down, I get back up. Every time you try to drop under those hammers or those elbows on me, those patented elbows, I will get back up because I am doing this for my son. I'm a family man, and I'm proud to say it. You are a no-win situation, Valentine. Learn it.
You know, Hammer, how sentimental. You know, the dragon has dedicated his whole year to his little son. Will you dedicate your whole year to me, huh?
I already have, Jimmy. When we signed on that dotted line, I dedicated my heart to you. The Heartbreaker, Greg the Hammer Valentine. Let me tell you something. Back. Steamboat, when I saw you bring out that little dragon, when I heard you made a comment that all you live for is your wife, your family, your baby, well, let me tell you something, Steamboat. That is your downfall. A professional wrestler has to think of nothing but viciousness. And I'm going in like a tiger for the kill. And I'm going to break your leg. I'll wrap it around your neck.
Both former Intercontinental champions, Greg the Hammer Valentine, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. Steamboat, by the way, dedicating 1988 to his newborn son. Stay tuned. There's more World Wrestling Federation action coming up after this.
So here's another feud originally planned for the house shows after WrestleMania for the Dragon, looking for revenge in 1988. It's the year of the Dragon, guys. Of course, Steamboat losing to the Hammer at the pay-per-view, so they plan to do rematches all around the horn. Maybe Steamboat would have got his heat back. Steamer wanting to avenge that loss. Unfortunately, as we already know, Ricky Steamboat gone. His final match was at WrestleMania, losing to Greg Valentine. These promos recorded prior to. So much like Jake and Harley Race, here's another feud that will never come to be. And as we conclude this week's Wrestling Challenge, it's off to Primetime Wrestling. April the 4th, as we hear the original Primetime theme that began all the way back at January 1st, 1985, nearly 3.5 years ago. We hear it for one final time. All right, there it was. Going to miss that music a little bit, but I'm looking forward to what's to come. As we kick off Primetime Wrestling this week, Gorilla Monsoon, Bobby Heenan here for April the 4th. Thanking Vince McMahon and Alfred Hayes for filling in last week. We go off now to the actual intro as we hear from Gorilla and the Brain.
I'm Gorilla Monsoon.
I'm your host, Bobby the Brain Heenan.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Primetime Wrestling, where we always feature the superstars, the luminaries, so to speak, of the World Wrestling Federation. First of all, Brain, I want to thank Vince McMahon and his lordship for filling in for us last week. And I saw some of those pieces from TNT. They were just unreal.
Well, I don't like the idea of Vince McMahon introducing the show. He can say all he wants about him being Gorilla Monsoon, but don't put Alfred Hayes next to him and then call him Bobby the Brain Heenan.
I loved it.
McMahon will be sweeping a broom here along with Hayes.
Well, WrestleMania, of course, WrestleMania IV history. Bobby the Brain Heenan.
Victorious. I think the word you were looking for.
actually left a lot to be desired.
Not me.
That horrible outfit that you wore into the ring, Brain.
Where
did you dig that up?
I have my sources. I still have flesh on my bones.
Yes.
The dog didn't tear me apart because of that horrible outfit.
I had visions of you being buried out there in front of Trump Plaza in the sand, the Atlantic sort of breaking over your face.
Yeah, what was left of me. You ever hear of Jim Fowler?
Yes.
Or Joan Embry from the San Diego Zoo?
Right.
They had nothing to do with the suit.
Oh, absolutely not, huh? I thought it was disgusting. I thought the way that you conducted yourself, as usual, was disgusting.
Then I shouldn't have surprised you.
However, what happened for the best, I thought. All the plans that you and the $1 Million Man made and Andre made all went down the tubes. We have a new champion. You're not happy about that, are you?
Well,
undisputed, I might add.
I can dispute it.
Go ahead. You have the floor.
I'm disputing it. I've always felt and always believed you can take any victory as long as you can get it. Take it, but not the way he took it.
Right now, we're going to hear from the new World Wrestling Federation champion.
So Bobby was fine with Vince replacing Gorilla Monsoon, but Vince referring to Alfred Hayes as the replacement for Bobby Heenan? The Brain quipping that Vince is going to be pushing a broom around here. As the duo also going to discuss Bobby Heenan's attack dog outfit, as well as the brand new champion crowned the Macho Man in that soundbite. We continue on. We come out of a matchup, Koko B. Ware losing to the Canadian strongman Dino Bravo, and the Brain going to gloat about his win over the Birdman.
Dino Bravo, obviously too much of a powerhouse for Koko B. Ware, but that
was too much of a powerhouse for Koko B.
Just a minute. That match took place prior to WrestleMania IV, and that could be the reason right there why Koko, to me, seemed a little bit lethargic during WrestleMania IV.
And he just didn't seem to have it either.
He obviously was hurting that match with Bravo.
Well, when you wrestle the strongest man in the world, he's going to take
He's not the strongest man in the world. Why are you dwelling on that?
Frenchie told me he was. And Frenchie's never lied to me.
No, huh?
No.
Obviously, you've never been in a gymnasium and know what it's like to push the iron.
I've never lifted 712 pounds. I've never cared to.
The guy did 675, which is one heck of a feat. I'll grant you that.
Sure.
But the 712, without the body standing there, reaching down, pulling, between the two of them, they hold a record. The official record for tag team bench pressing.
You know what I was thinking? You get a bench.
We'll be back in just a moment with The Rock and superstar Billy Graham.
So Gorilla Monsoon saying, well, Dino Bravo is simply too much of a powerhouse for Koko B. Ware, but Bobby Heenan replying, I'm too much of a powerhouse for Koko B. Ware. Gorilla stating that the Birdman looked lethargic at WrestleMania. Gorilla's excuse for every time a babyface does the job. But you gotta love that line, Koko looking lethargic at WrestleMania, Bobby Heenan replying, yeah, he didn't seem to have it either. I thought Koko looked pretty good for what they gave him. And then, of course, Dino Bravo was in the matchup, so we get more about that damned bench press record. As we continue on here, yet another soundbite. This time, Bobby Heenan going to reference the feud between Hacksaw Jim Duggan and Andre the Giant.
Hacksaw Jim Duggan really bent out of shape and issuing a challenge, an outright challenge, Brian.
Hey, I think the poor man ought to have his eyes fixed. I mean, he's cross-eyed a bit or wall-eyed or something wrong with his headlights. And I don't think he realizes. Andre is 7'5", over 500 pounds. You don't walk up to him with a board. You better have a whole forest. You're going to need some help. And don't blame Andre because you're clumsy. What happened was...
Did you see it?
Yes,
Did you see it?
But it was an accident.
An accident?
Yes. Andre's hands are so big. When that clumsy oaf hit the rope, he got his foot hooked into his hand. That's what happened.
I suppose that Hacksaw Jim Duggan slammed his forehead into Andre's fist.
You noticed that
in an attempt to hurt
well,
Andre's
he swung
hand.
it. Andre was just protecting himself from some half-crazed oddball. He lurched at him. He's put his hands up like that. And
what a twisted mind you have, Brain.
All the better to see you with.
Yeah, you are something else, honest.
Well, that's the truth.
Talk about tainted victories.
So Bobby on a roll this week. He says Duggan's going to need more than a board to take on Andre. He's going to need a whole forest. Going back to WrestleMania, he says Andre didn't trip the Hacksaw. Duggan's simply clumsy. He tripped over Andre's big hand laying on the apron. Gorilla then pointing out, well, what about when Andre decked Duggan after he tripped him? But Bobby argues that it was Duggan who slammed his forehead into Andre's fist. Gotta love the brain. As we go off now, one final soundbite here this week for this episode of Primetime Wrestling. Splicing together 3 soundbites for this one, as we're coming out of the Superstars segment where Hacksaw Duggan KOs Andre the Giant.
Andre the Giant laid out in the ring like a beached whale, unconscious. First time that I've ever seen Andre.
Well, you hit a man with a 2x4 between the eyes, you're going to knock anybody out. Couldn't Duggan fight the man? Couldn't he just be so tough, tough guy?
He was fighting the man. He was fighting for his life.
That's correct. He had no business even stepping into that ring.
Oh, yes, he did.
Why?
Yes, he did.
Tell me
why? Because Duggan was eliminated from the tournament to decide the champion once and for all because of Andre.
He was eliminated because of his own inability to be a decent, good wrestler.
No, that's not true.
Don't blame Andre because
Andre reached right up there, pulled the guy's leg, and knocked him out of a chance of a lifetime to become WWF champion. What's wrong with you?
I'll tell you something.
And he said he was going to challenge him any place, any time, and he did just that. He's a man of his word.
You're right. What you did, Duggan, is you better hope that man stays unconscious for the rest of your life. Because when he comes to, like Jesse said, you don't wake a sleeping giant. You don't make him mad. Duggan, are you in trouble?
First time ever, Andre the Giant laying unconscious on the canvas.
Can't believe it.
It was a lot longer. I'm telling you, it was a lot longer than that. I saw the thing 3 times now, and the Giant had to be unconscious for at least 6 or 7 minutes.
30 seconds, I guess.
Oh, come on,
Tops.
30 seconds. Will you stop?
I
hate for you to have to hold your breath for that long.
I come to the ring with a suit on to protect my body, and all you do is ridicule me. A man comes with a deadly snake, nobody says anything. People come with vicious dogs, nobody says anything. Another person comes with a diseased bird, no one says nothing. Here, a man comes with a weapon, a 2x4, and hits a man right between the eyes with it. Nobody says nothing.
Yeah, Andre said something. He said, ow. And out to lunch he went.
He's going to have the last
Andre
word
the
on
Giant
this.
is still
I'm gonna
down on the
guarantee
canvas
he's
as we
not
go
the
back.
Don't ignore
to
me while
Vince
I'm talking
McMahon,
about
along
this.
with Jesse the
Forget
Body
Vince
Ventura,
McMahon.
and their comments on this
You don't take a
unbelievable
board,
happening.
man. Andre the
Sweep
Giant.
Jesse. That's right. You take a look. There it is. A weapon. Right in his hand. Andre doesn't have any weapons. Picks him up.
Look at this. Jen.
Oh, wow. Well, you know what complicated that worse? Andre looked like he was going in for a headbutt. So his head hit that board at precisely the same time. And there's the big man struggling to get to his feet. I can't blame him. Being hit with a 2x4, what a disgrace on Duggan's part.
Andre, unconscious for over 5 minutes, has drawn a crowd in the ring. A lot of ring attendants, officials in there. And why not? They're all concerned for the welfare of Andre the Giant. What's he doing?
He don't know where he's at. He probably figures Duggan's still in there. He's going to come up fighting.
Oh, he knows where he is.
Look at, now how would you know that, McMahon? The man was unconscious for 5
Look
minutes.
at this, William. Look at that. That can't be. Look, Andre the Giant in their cleaning house. Andre, moments ago. Look, come on. What's he doing? He's going after cameraman. That's a Giant. Look at that.
I don't blame the guy for being irate, getting hit like that on national television. He has never, ever been knocked out before, and you can imagine the man is hot. I would not like to be in Jim Duggan's shoes right now.
They're trying to get this last man out of that. Andre stepped right on his head. Andre stepped right on that young man's head. They were only there to try and help the Giant. He was unconscious for over 5 minutes.
This is all the fault of Hacksaw Jim Duggan as far as I'm concerned. He knocked the big man out. Now you've got an irate Giant that he's going to have to face.
Trying to get everyone out of the ring here moments ago. Look at this. Andre stepping right down on that young man's head.
I'm just mad it wasn't your head, McMahon. Knock some sense into you.
Hacksaw Jim Duggan. What guts to come out and challenge Andre the Giant. And the Giant is the most angry I believe I've ever seen him in my life.
Andre's upset.
Oh, was I right? Upset, mad, angry. He's beside himself. That man's berserk.
Danger.
And Mr. Duggan, you've created something here. I don't think you and your little IQ of 3 know what you've done.
He knocked out the big Giant.
Right. He did. He knocked him out for 6 or 7 minutes, maybe 8 minutes. Nobody's ever done that. He's a very proud Giant. He prides himself on being the biggest, toughest, strongest athlete in sports. When you come out here and interfere in his match, take a board and hit him in the head with it, and then leave him in front of millions of people.
In his match. The match was over, Brain. He just went out there and issued a challenge.
With a
like
weapon.
he said he was going to do.
You do that through proper channel, through Jack Tunney, through your agent, through your booker, through your manager.
He gave fair warning. Did he not?
I'm going to give you fair warning on behalf of Andre, and I may be sticking my nose in something I shouldn't, but I know Andre.
If you stick your nose in where it don't belong, highly unlikely.
Okay, this time
Still
I will.
to come, our feature. Well, I don't know. Left a lot to be desired how that match went, Brain.
You got a giant that's completely out of control now.
Sleeping giant, so to speak.
He's awake.
He's awake now, right? And dangerous indeed.
So there it was, sweet revenge. Duggan blasting Andre with the 2x4. We heard Andre laying out cold there like a beached whale, says Gorilla Monsoon. Bobby says he was only down for 30 seconds. Will you stop, Brain? We clearly see it was a lot longer than that, and Bobby getting upset. Nobody said anything when Hacksaw Duggan cracked Andre with that 2x4. Gorilla replying that somebody did. Andre said, ow. So Gorilla getting into the comedy bit here this week. But as we saw, Andre was pissed off, berserk they say, after coming to, blasting the referees, and that poor cameraman who had to sell Andre's punch, he had to take the bump. You can't no-sell Andre. So he had to take the bump off the apron while holding the camera, but at the same time protecting the camera as well. Kudos to the cameraman here, as this week on Primetime, a few exclusive matchups, including March the 7th, Nashville, Tennessee, at the Municipal Auditorium, Bad News Brown over Brady Boone, with the Ghetto Blaster in 5 minutes, 57 seconds, and the feature match this week from Bristol, Tennessee, Viking Hall, tape back March the 8th, George the Animal Steele in the feature matchup, defeating Boris Zukov, who was accompanied to the ring by Slick and Nikolai Volkov. Steele going to get the win on a DQ in just 2.5 minutes after Nikolai going to interfere here. Post-match, it was a 3-on-1 beatdown where the heels taking down George Steele, but the Animal able to get a steel chair and chase all of the heels backstage. What a sight to see. George Steele versus Boris Zukov. Primetime Wrestling, everyone. As we move on now to the following week's Superstars. For April 9th, tape back now March 19th in Cape Girardeau, Missouri at the Show Me Center. Vince McMahon, Jesse Ventura on commentary, and we head off to the ring to see the Ultimate Warrior take on Barry Horowitz. Barry tries early with some cheap shots, but it doesn't seem to register the Warrior. Warrior with a big clothesline tossing Horowitz all around the ring and then out to the floor where UW going to slam Barry on the outside and then back in the ring where it's the Ultimate Warrior with the Gorilla Press drop and the big splash going to get the win, 2 minutes and 43 seconds. As we go off now to Update with Lord Alfred Hayes now doing the Update segment, and we get a new backdrop for the Update show. Actually, it's just Edit 1, which has been used for All-American by this point, and it will also mark the soon-to-be setting for the Event Center as well. And this is going to be the backdrop for the Update segment, the Event Center for the next several years, so you guys get the idea of what I'm talking about, all the monitors in the background, the little TV screens. And this week on Update, it's all about the newly found feud between Hacksaw Jim Duggan and Andre the Giant. We go back to the WrestleMania IV interference once again, and last week's knockout moment, as Duggan blasting the Giant with a board. We learn that because of this issue, Andre has once again acquired the services of one Bobby the Brain Heenan. All right. But we'll have more on this with Wrestling Challenge around the corner. Right now, it's to the ring for Dino Bravo with Frenchie Martin in his corner. Dino taking on Reno Riggins. Is Bravo picking up the quick win here with the side suplex. Match goes 2 minutes and 12 seconds. Commentary suggesting that the Dino Ken Patera feud will indeed take place, unfortunately. And the action continues on here. Strikeforce going up against Los Conquistadors. Both of them here this week. And now Santana and Martel, it's noted here in the results that Strikeforce actually, because this was filmed before WrestleMania, they came to the ring with their tag team title belts. And then it was Slick, what an odd choice, Slick coming to ringside taunting the champions, and they chased the manager backstage, and when they return, Strikeforce no longer wearing the tag team titles. So a sneaky way to get the belts off of them here for the TV taping. But they had to do it, and they had to do things like this quite often. Oh, the things they had to do to fool the live crowd when they taped post-pay-per-view matches before the big events. Anywho, champions no longer. We get an insert promo from an upset Strikeforce during this matchup who want their titles back from those cheating Demolition. As it's Martel and Santana controlling the match early on, eventually the masked duo, who hail from somewhere in Latin America, going to take over on Tito, at least briefly. Santana able to hot tag out to partner Rick Martel, who goes all bonzo gonzo before Tito tagging back in with that flying forearm, giving Strikeforce the win, 3 minutes and 12 seconds. I will say this much. They seem to have a newfound aggression here, due to the former champions as they look for a rematch with Demolition. As we go back once more to the event center, this time it's a brand new promo from the King Harley Race. We're also going to hear once again from Jake the Snake.
All right, hi again, everybody. Mean Gene Okerlund back in the World Wrestling Federation Event Center. And get ready, fans all across America, all over the world, still are buzzing about WrestleMania IV. Couple of things established there, and that's the fact that we now have a new and undisputed World Wrestling Federation champion. He is the Macho Man, Randy Savage. He is very good. He did it the old-fashioned way, folks. He earned it. And, of course, please give credit to his manager, the lovely Elizabeth, the First Lady of Wrestling. Now, of course, the top contenders, the challengers, are going to be lining up. More happening in the World Wrestling Federation. A couple of men who have little love for each other, King Harley Race and Jake the Snake Roberts.
What does winning mean to me, Mr. Race? I'll tell you what winning means to me. Intimidation, setting the phase of the game that I want to use. That's what you do, too, so you got your own game. The thing is, oh, Harley Race, the most important thing about any athlete is the attitude the man's got. It's easy to sit back in the back and say, hey, I'm going to beat this guy when you're lacing up those boots and putting that tape on. It's real easy then. It's easy for Bobby Heenan to tell you how good you are, even though he lies through his teeth. The attitude, man, able to keep that attitude through that whole match after you've been slapped a couple of times, after somebody's drove a knee into your gut. That's the difference. And I can keep that attitude because you see something about me. I always make myself happy.
When you stand where I stand, Jake, you are above any other creature, whether it be your snake, whether it be any other man in wrestling. I am above and beyond. And I'm not going to bow and bend for any slimy snake. This is what wrestling's about. This is the king of wrestling. Your king, these people's king, and one by one, you will bow to this man right here, the king.
I know for a fact that promoters are chomping at the bit, wanting to sign that match. King Harley Race, part of the Bobby Heenan family, and Jake the Snake Roberts, one of the great superstars, right here in the World Wrestling Federation. We're right back.
So it appeared to be the same promo with Jake, and we're going to run into that issue a couple of times here in the early event centers. I do apologize, but a brand new promo from the King, and I wanted to get that in as we go back to the ring for the one-man gang, with Slick in his corner taking on Van Horn. As the gang going to jump Van Horn to begin with, elevated double-handed choke, sending Van down to the mat, mauling poor Van Horn, leading to the Gourd Buster finisher, giving the gang the win, 1 minute and 29 seconds.
All right, let's talk about it on the superstars of wrestling. Some tremendous rivalries. Once again, repeating. The new undisputed World Wrestling Federation champion is Macho Man Randy Savage. New tag team champions are Demolition, Axe, and Smash. However, some very intense rivalries are taking place right now in the World Wrestling Federation. One of them involves the big one-man gang. He's managed by the Doctor of Style, Slick. And, of course, the guy he's talking about, Bam Bam Bigelow, who's standing by with the hump.
No matter where our travels take us, to whatever farthest reaches of the earth, they're all talking about the one-man gang and what a huge individual he is. Well, I'm here to tell you, yes, he's huge. Yes, he's tough. He comes from a bad part of Chicago. But let me tell you something, ladies and gentlemen. When these two immovable objects collide, and they will, it'll be the man of flames and fire, Bam Bam Bigelow, that stands tall in the end. Gang, your reign of terror is over.
Gang, let me tell you something. You're gonna feel the earth shake. You're gonna feel the earth rattle. You're gonna feel the wrath of Bam Bam, because I am not only gonna bam you once, but I am gonna bam you twice, and you're going down. Bam!
How about this ravishing Rick Rude? How about Rick Rude? He thinks he's God's gift to women. Not that he isn't, don't get me wrong. One guy that doesn't think that Mr. Rude is quite that hot of a ticket is this guy, The Rock, Don Muraco.
Superstar Billy Graham standing right here next to The Rock. Don Muraco, my main man. I want the cameraman to get down on the colors of The Rock. Look at the mask. Look at the density. Look at the power of The Rock. But most of all, look in the eyes, Rick Rude. Because in the eyes, you see the will to win and the will to conquer and the will to hurt somebody. And that's you, brother. Get down, Rock.
Clanging and banging with the superstar. We've been all over the country. We've been looking for you, Rick Rude. See, we're trying to get rid of the diseases, you see, and you walking around kissing all them pretty girls. We know a lot about pretty girls, but we're not telling you any secrets. You, Rick Rude. Rude Awakening?
Rude Awakening, brother.
Time. Yo, pod drive.
All right, my man.
And the action doesn't stop there. Right back to the ring for the Junkyard Dog, who is taking on Bob Bryant. His opponent here this week, Vince McMahon and Jesse Ventura, mentioning the altercation between JYD and the Outlaw last week on Wrestling Challenge, which in fact leads us to an insert promo from Ron Bass, referring to JYD as a muley bull. And for those non-cowboys, much like myself, I Googled that term. Muley bull is basically a cow with no horns. So the Outlaw basically referring to the dog as a hornless and harmless foe. And as you might suspect, not much to this matchup here, but that's the reality of where we're at in the career of the Junkyard Dog. We do see a nice big clothesline from JYD and the thump power slam. Going to pick up the win 1 minute and 49 seconds as we go off now to Craig DeGeorge. Special interview up on the stage with ravishing Rick Rude and manager Bobby the Brain Heenan, as Rick Rude has really put everything together in the past few months here. New music, new finishing hold, airbrush tights, the hip swivel pose, and now he introduces the final piece to his gimmick, the Rude Awakening. No, not the neck breaker, but he wants to show the ladies his inner beauty, bringing a young woman up on stage here to plant a wet one on her. As up comes Rick's first victim, as she helps remove Rick Rude's robe before Rude dipping this lady and planting a kiss right on the lips. Boy, the Me Too movement would have had a field day with this one. As we go back to the ring now for the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase, Virgil in his corner taking on Frankie DeFalco. And we get an insert promo here from the $1 Million Man, who says he's not done with the Macho Man or the WWF title. DiBiase says he always gets what he wants, and he wants to be the WWF champion. Now DeFalco going to surprise DiBiase early on, bumping him not once but twice to the mat, and Teddy going to have to regroup outside on the floor, and then the $1 Million Man back inside, taking over, picking Frankie apart, before locking in the Cobra Clutch hold and landing a Russian leg sweep while keeping hold of that submission. Vince then informing us on commentary that move, the Cobra Clutch, is called the $1 Million Dream. And we saw that at WrestleMania as well. DiBiase going to pick up the submission win, the KO victory, if you will, 1 minute and 51 seconds. And then post-match, Teddy going to stuff a $100 bill down DeFalco's mouth before Virgil going to retrieve it. Then from there, it's yet another WrestleMania IV report. Now, last week, we got a 10-minute video of the Macho Man's matches and title win. We got clips from the tag team title change. And this week, we see highlights of the Intercontinental title match with Brutus the Barber Beefcake taking on champion Honky Tonk Man. And while Honky retained the title, we do see that Jimmy Hart, he received himself a haircut. So the feud going to continue here. Beefer still looking for that IC belt. And boy, they're practically giving away the entire pay-per-view right here on TV. It doesn't even stop here, guys. More to come. Then it's back to the ring for the Islanders, Haku and Tama, with Bobby Heenan taking on Mark Young and Tony Parks, as we get an insert promo here from a barking Matilda. So it does indeed seem that this feud, too, will continue. You see, a bulldog never forgets, guys. As Mark Young going to aim high early in the match, going all the way to the top rope, but missing a cross-body block. Tama out of the way, and Haku tagging in, taking over. Haku, however, missing a corner charge, and Young finally able to tag out to Tony Parks. And Tony, give him an A for effort, going to try to put Haku in a sleeper hold, but he gets tossed off and chopped down to the mat before Tama back in with the top rope splash, putting Parks away. The Islanders score the win, 2 minutes and 50 seconds. But it doesn't stop there. We continue on to the April 10th edition of Wrestling Challenge, now taped March 20th, Springfield, Illinois, at the Prairie Capital Convention Center. Bobby Heenan, Gorilla Monsoon on commentary once again, as we see the British Bulldogs, with mascot Matilda taking on the team of Iron Mike Sharpe and Terry Gibbs. So Matilda back on TV is Bobby Heenan on commentary, gloating about his win here on commentary. As the bell sounds, the Bulldog's going to work over Iron Mike to start things off. Terry Gibbs going to tag in, catching Dynamite Kid with a nice backdrop, but Terry making the mistake, going up to the top rope to where Dynamite going to slam him off, and then Sharpe tag back inside, going to try to continue the offense for his team until the Bulldogs, they have enough of it. The Bulldogs taking Mike Sharpe down to the mat, and Davey pressing Dynamite high in the air, launching him with a diving headbutt down onto Sharpe, going to give the British Bulldogs the win, 3 minutes and 9 seconds. And I don't know if this is a legit punishment for Dynamite breaking his back. How dare you, pal? Or what the hell this really is, but the Bulldogs, they're back in solid form here and still just not being utilized whatsoever. Outside of, I know they have a feud going with the Islanders, which was based off of their Bulldog, Matilda. At this point, it feels like the entire point of the team is to get Matilda over. It's just really weird. You have two guys in great shape, certainly Vince McMahon body types. They're great in the ring. I just don't get it. As we continue on, special interview here up on the stage, Craig DeGeorge standing by with the Outlaw Ron Bass. And as you would imagine, this promo all about Ron's attack on Junkyard Dog from last week. While the Outlaw gloats and laughs about choking out the dog, we get interspliced video clips of that attack. Nice refresher there. Bass stating that JYD simply suffered the consequences of Miss Betsy. So the feud continues on now. The Outlaw cutting a solid promo here to add a little fuel to the fire. Nothing wrong with that as we go back to the ring for Ravishing Rick Rude with Bobby the Brain Heenan. Rude taking on Brady Boone this week as we get an insert promo. Special heart-shaped screen edition of an insert promo here from several ladies answering the question, is Rick Rude the sexiest man alive? Boy, my Aunt Deb sure thought so. As the action gets going here, Rude and Brady Boone, couple of Minnesota boys, actually graduated high school together in Robbinsdale High School. Fun fact, Rude gonna toy with Brady Boone early on here, flexing to add some insult. But Boone gonna retaliate, sending the Ravishing One down as well, which only pisses Rude off, who quickly makes the comeback and puts Boone away with the Rude Awakening neckbreaker. Match only goes 1 minute and 10 seconds, which leaves us plenty of time for Rick Rude to showcase his brand new post-match ordeal. The Ravishing One gonna debut the Rude Awakening Kiss as Bobby Heenan ushers 6 ladies into the ring for Rick Rude to select the quote-unquote lucky one. And Rick Rude once again laying in a smooch here on Wrestling Challenge. And what an awesome gimmick from every aspect. And by the end of the year here, Rick Rude will have really developed as a wrestler as well, really putting it together. So the sky's the limit right now for one Ravishing Rick as the action continues on with the Birdman, Koko B. Ware, taking on Jerry Hall. And we get an insert promo here from Koko, who says he's going weasel hunting. Bobby Heenan not too worried on commentary. Pretty basic squash here. Not even a drop kick that I caught, but Ware going to get the win with an awesome-looking Ghostbuster. Hell of a brainbuster here this week, giving Koko the win, 1 minute and 51 seconds as we go off now to the event center. As we hear once again from the mighty Hercules with Bobby Heenan. We're also going to hear once more from the Ultimate Warrior.
All right, some tremendous rivalries, of course, have been set up here in the World Wrestling Federation. They have been established. One of them I'd like to talk about involved the big 20-man invitational battle royal that was part of WrestleMania IV at Trump Plaza on March 27th. 20 of the very best invited to the battle royal. 2 of the final men of the ring, Bret the Hitman Hart and Bad News Brown. Now, Brown, a mystery man. I have not particularly cared the way this man operates, but nonetheless, he has certainly been impressive. He has proven himself. Apparently, and at least Bret Hart understood it, a pact was made, but then all of a sudden, whammo, the double cross. And Bret Hart will never forget that. The Ultimate Warrior and the mighty Hercules. What a match that was.
You know, intimidation is very, very nice if you can get away with it. I don't know who you're trying to scare or push around. The average ham and egger and panty waist punk that walks the street probably is a little leery of you. Not
Warrior,
this man.
This time, there will be no unanswered questions. This time, there will be no doubts. This time, Warrior, you will have to answer my challenge. But this time, your defeat will be quick. It will be complete. Warrior, you know that I will prevail, and you know that you are mine, because deep in your mind, you know who is the strongest and the most powerful.
Hercules, like the writing on the wall from our great forefathers from beyond. There will never be a time when neither you or I will care about the things that other normal people do. Abnormal is the way of life for us. We care not for nobody or anything. Only you, Hercules, and I to you can give you what you want and you to me. The challenge of combat. The challenge to prove to one another who deserves to stand atop the many men that have already fallen. You, Hercules, will fall like the others have. I promise.
All right, getting point and counterpoint from the Ultimate Warrior, the mighty Hercules. I said what a match it was in WrestleMania IV. Promoters will sign that one again here in the World Wrestling Federation. And when they meet, you're going to know they have met.
Hercules referring to himself as the most powerful man in the WWF, perhaps the world. Boy, we got a competition here with Dino Bravo, Ken Patera. Now Hercules throwing his name into the hat. Ultimate Warrior, I believe, again, repeat promo there. I do apologize. I believe that's our last one, but the feud continues. I love what they're doing for the house shows. We're hearing from both sides, hyping up the house show cards from top to bottom. As we go back to the ring for the $1 Million Man with bodyguard Virgil taking on Jim Evans. As we get an insert promo here from DiBiase, who warns the Macho Man to never underestimate the $1 Million Man, and you could take that to the bank. Action begins. DiBiase going to own Evans in this one, and once again applying that $1 million dream to get the win. No leg sweep this time, but he does actually release the hold before the referee checks the arm of Evans. Kind of interesting. So DiBiase locking in the $1 million dream, putting Evans out, and then releasing him, letting him fall to the mat before the referee checks on him to declare Ted DiBiase the winner in 1 minute and 52 seconds. And once again, post-match, DiBiase going to stuff a $100 bill down the mouth of Evans. And now it's time to head off to Special Report with Lord Alfred Hayes.
Hello everyone, this is Lord Alfred Hayes with this special report. Andre the Giant's interference in the match between the $1 Million Man Ted DiBiase and Hacksaw Jim Duggan, which took place in WrestleMania IV, not only cost Duggan this match, but prevented him from advancing in the tournament. A fired-up Duggan vowed revenge against the Giant and made this statement: no matter where or when the Giant is next appearing, Hacksaw Jim Duggan would challenge him face-to-face, man-to-man. Let's take you courtesy of the superstars of wrestling to see what took place when Andre the Giant was slated to wrestle Brian Costello. The Giant has never been this angry before, and Duggan has never been so determined. As a result, Bobby the Brain Heenan is once again the Giant's manager. With this special report, I'm Lord Alfred Hayes.
So is Lordship talking more about that Andre Hacksaw feud? Things really getting going here over the last couple weeks after WrestleMania. And speaking of WrestleMania, up next it's a WrestleMania IV report. Is Mean Gene now going to talk about the Battle Royal? As we see even more footage from the pay-per-view, the final three in the ring, Junkyard Dog, Bad News Brown, and the Hitman Bret Hart. Of course, we know Bad News and the Hitman team up, eliminating JYD. But then, as Bret Hart thought they were going to split the purse, co-winners, Bad News going to do the double cross, leveling the Hitman with a ghetto blaster, beating him down, sending him over the top rope, and eliminating Bret Hart from the Battle Royal. Bad News Brown scoring the win, but it didn't end there. Bret Hart returning to the ring for some quick revenge, destroying Brown's 6-foot trophy. And right now we're going to hear from both men.
We got comments from both Bret the Hitman Hart and Bad News Brown.
In WrestleMania IV, the whole world got to see just how bad you really are, Bad News Brown. And let me tell you something, you're nothing but a double cross. You're nothing but a double cross, and you got to see the trophy busted up. But let me tell you something, when our paths cross, you, pal, you are next.
Bret Hart, you lowlife. I'm the one that won the Battle Royal. You spoiled my party and you came out there and destroyed the trophy. And now I intend to destroy you. You're gonna be sorry that you ever did that. I intend to beat you within an inch of your miserable life.
I can guarantee you somewhere, sometime in the World Wrestling Federation in the not-too-distant future, Bad News Brown and Bret the Hitman Hart will meet. And by the way, Bret Hart stating quite clearly that next time he's not only going to mess up the trophy, but he's going to mess up Mr. Brown, Bad News Brown.
So as you guys could tell, Bret Hart's still developing the art of the promo. I don't know that he finds it until he turns back heel in 97. But the Hitman here, referring to Bad News as nothing but a double cross. A double cross. You're nothing but a double cross, says Bret Hart, vowing to destroy Brown, much like he did his trophy. Meanwhile, on the other end, very generic promo there from Brown, basically saying the same thing 3 or 4 times in so many different ways. He too wants revenge on Bret, ruining his WrestleMania IV celebration, and of course, that trophy. So we haven't quite gotten to the beer-bellied sharecroppers and spineless cockroach lines yet. But they're a-coming, and we're headed back to the ring. The Rock down Muraco with Superstar Graham taking on Rick Gantner. As we see Muraco right out of the gate busting out a Russian leg sweep, a nice atomic drop back suplex combo. From there, The Rock going to slide in a knee lift, a running power slam, and the tombstone pile driver. Going to get the win in 1 minute and 20 seconds. But it's painfully obvious, the writing already on the wall for Superstar Graham as far as long-term goes here. They don't even make him climb in the ring for the TV squashes, keeping Billy Graham from having to walk up and down the steps. And if you guys remember, it was about this time a year ago that we lost King Curtis Iakea as the Wizard for the manager of Kamala and Sika because of similar issues with his knees. Of course, with Billy Graham, it's his hip. But the Superstar not getting around so well right now as we continue on with more action. The final match of Wrestling Challenge. Listen to this. Intercontinental Champion, the Honky Tonk Man, with manager Jimmy Hart, taking on Outback Jack. Still here is the Outback. And we get an insert promo from the Honky Tonk Man, taunting Brutus Beefcake that you can't beat the greatest Intercontinental Champion of all time, is what he has to say to the barber. But I don't know that Beefcake's done with the Honky Tonk Man. As the bell sounds, old Outback gonna dodge a Honky Tonk cheap shot in the corner, and unloading here is Outback Jack with a series of right hands, even managing to slam the IC champion down to the mat. But Outback Jack going up to the middle rope, and he's gonna miss a falling back elbow drop, allowing Honky to take over with a clothesline, and then straight to the shake, rattle, and roll neckbreaker. Gonna give Honky Tonk Man the quick win, 1 minute and 20 seconds. We're coming near the end of Outback Jack here in the World Wrestling Federation as we close up this week's Wrestling Challenge. One final event center here this week. Mean Gene going to introduce interviews from the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase, and the brand new, undisputed WWF champion, the Macho Man. Teddy still promising a master plan is in place to capture the WWF title. Hopefully it works this time because he's been trying for about 5 months now and nothing has seemed to work thus far. Though he says next time, somehow DiBiase knows Hulk Hogan won't be there to help. Let's make it a movie, pal. On the other side, Randy Savage says he has all the confidence he needs. Of course, in himself, but he also has the lovely Liz telling DiBiase basically to just bring it, bitch. As we head off now, one final piece of TV here this week on The Grenade, back to primetime wrestling for April the 11th with a brand new intro.
I'm your host, Bobby the Brain.
Hello, everyone, and welcome once again to Primetime Wrestling, where we feature the superstars of the World Wrestling Federation, the greatest professional athletes in the world today, even though one of them, a great big one, last week was lying prone on his back like a big beached whale, referring to Andre the Giant.
He's a human being. You take anybody and hit him in the head with a 2x4 that a 290-pound man's carrying.
Are you sure that'll work? If you hit anybody with a 2x4, it'll knock them out?
I would say so. Would you
say so? Well, I could try that right here this week and try to prove you right for a change.
Knock me out cold for 2 hours, and what would you do?
Well,
Stammer through the whole show.
Continue on with the program?
You need me here to help.
Yeah.
You out.
Our feature this week here on Primetime Wrestling, Koko B, Ware, taking on Ravishing Rick Rude. What a contest that's going to be.
No contest.
What do you mean no contest? This guy is more interested in doing other things than wrestling inside that squared circle. That's the feeling I'm getting of late from Ravishing Rick.
I thought you were talking about Koko.
No, I'm talking about Ravishing Rick.
Well, he's trying to make every lady out there happy.
Uh-huh.
And he certainly is proud of his physique.
Well, I grant you that. He's got
and
something
he
to
likes
be proud
to
of.
beat guys that hang around with pigeons.
Please.
Simple.
You going to be facetious again this week, or are we going to do the program the way we're supposed to do it, and you're going to stay off the telephones and not interrupt and call for all kinds of new things?
I can call whoever I want. This phone works this week.
It won't work after I get done with it. I give it a couple of whacks with this 2x4. Right now, folks, let's take it to ringside.
Now that's the music I remembered growing up. We're going to hear that all the way for about the next 3 years, I do believe. New introduction, but the same old hosts. We hear from Gorilla Monsoon and Bobby the Brain Heenan talking about Andre the Giant Gorilla, again referring to him as that beached whale. And then Monsoon going to bring out the giant killer, if you will, holding a 2x4. Bobby Heenan wisely backing away. Of course, they also talk the upcoming feature match this week. Rick Rude taking on Koko B. Ware. We've seen him here before on Primetime, so the continuity here at least continues. As we go off now to another fun discussion, Gorilla and Bobby talking about the feud now between the Outlaw Ron Bass and the Junkyard Dog.
Disgusting and outrageous. Attacking someone from behind. I suppose you condone that.
Well, the dog did make a move when he had that chain in his hand. Bass was just protecting
He
himself.
asked the guy more than once to step aside and let him pass.
But he didn't say please. That's the key
How
word.
do you know he didn't say please?
The Outlaw told me.
Did Hacksaw say please when he laid the timber to the big guy? No.
But he better say please next time he sees Andre.
Well, you're in for a big surprise, Brain. I got news for you.
Yeah, he better call suicide on.
You know what's the next step up from this, don't you?
Tire iron?
No, 4x4.
Then we can just go out to beat somebody over the head with a giant redwood. That'd be nice.
Sure, why not? Let's do it.
So Gorilla calling the attack, the Outlaw choking out the dog, disgusting and outrageous. Bobby thinks that maybe the JYD got what was coming to him. Gorilla stating he wouldn't step aside. Dog had no option but to lay out a threat. Bobby saying Ron Bass, he didn't step aside simply because the dog, he never said please. As we've got one final piece of business here this week as far as sound bites goes, guys, we're coming out of a matchup. Tape back March the 13th in Hamilton, Ontario, Cobb's Coliseum. It's the Bolsheviks defeating the Killer Bees. We're going to hear Gorilla and Bobby's thoughts on the current status of the Killer Bees.
Killer Bee is just a little bit discombobulated, Brain.
And you wonder why the Russians did so good in the Olympics.
Well, I know why the Russians always do good in the Olympics, because all their athletes are professionals.
And they use, like Nikolai told me, Russian ingenuity.
I was surprised because the Killer Bees, if I remember correctly, correct me if I'm wrong, I know you will anyway, in 1987, did they not win one of the biggest tag team tournaments ever to take place in Toronto's Maple Leaf Gardens?
Yes, they did. They won the tag team tournament.
They won the big, I remember them getting the big trophy.
Frank Tunney trophy, wasn't it, or something like that?
Yes.
Yes, they did win it.
Well.
And right now you can see that trophy. It's in a hawk shop in Newark.
Will you stop? Obviously, things have not been going too well for the Killer Bees.
It's
been
got $9. You got yourself a trophy.
Been sort of downhill for those guys.
You got $8. You can have the bees.
So even Gorilla Monsoon noticing the bees decline here in the WWF, burying the bees here basically on commentary. He says they were one-time winners of the Frank Tunney Cup tournament. And Bobby says, you know where you can find that trophy now? In the hawk shop. Gorilla basically admitting that the Killer Bees have been floundering here as of late in the WWF. They're discombobulated, says Monsoon. I'll teach you to turn down being heels, pallies. We've got not one, not two, not three, but 4 exclusive matches taped here this week for Primetime Wrestling, going back to the Saturday night's main event taping, March the 7th, Nashville, Tennessee. Going to see the Rock Don Muraco pin the Natural Butch Reed. So Muraco finally avenging his feud here with the Natural on TV. Of course, Butch Reed finished up at WrestleMania, so only wise to do the job here on television post-pay-per-view. Giving Don Muraco a big win here on television with a rolling cradle after Reed running into manager Slick on the apron. Also here on Primetime, another exclusive taped March 19th, Cape Girardeau, Missouri at the Show Me Center. Greg Valentine over Brady Boone with the figure 4. Match goes about 3.5 minutes. Bristol, Tennessee, taped back March 8th. $1 Million Man pinning Alden Kinsey. And this was taped far enough back that DiBiase was still using that falling back elbow for his finisher. So that's probably going to be the last time we see that move used here for the win here for the $1 Million Man. And finally, in an exclusive, as promised at the top of the show, taped back March 20th in Springfield, Illinois, Koko B Ware avenging his count-out loss to Ravishing Rick Rude by defeating Rude here with Bobby Heenan in his corner. Koko scoring the win over Ravishing Rick Rude on a count-out. Match goes about 11 minutes. Bobby Heenan, remember last time these two were in the ring, Bobby Heenan attempted to steal Frankie, which caused Koko to chase Heenan backstage. The Birdman counted out, though he did get Frankie back. Well, this time, Bobby Heenan once again edging himself ever so close to one Frankie in that perch, leading to the British Bulldogs heading ringside this time, chasing Bobby Heenan backstage, leading to Rick Rude chasing the Bulldogs, who are chasing Bobby Heenan backstage, and it's the Birdman who gets the count-out victory this time around. Fun little match for TV, and we're going to follow that. I believe we're going to see those two in the ring on an upcoming Saturday night's main event, if I'm not mistaken. But for this week, that's going to close up shop. 2 more weeks in the books, the first 2 weeks of April, and the way the dates fall, we're going to have 5 weeks of April TV in all. So the month will continue on for a couple more weeks here on The Grenade, including our next edition of Saturday night's main event in just a couple weeks. But for now, we're going to wrap things up, putting another episode of The Grenade in the books. I hope you guys enjoyed it. It was a fun one. We're getting used to the new segments, the new format, the event center, things of that nature. But a lot of new feuds being established here, whether they were created at WrestleMania, before WrestleMania, or post-WrestleMania. We know Hacksaw and Andre. It's the Junkyard Dog and Ron Bass. Looks like we're getting Ken Patera and Dino Bravo, but also Strikeforce chasing after those tag team titles in Demolition. Ted DiBiase still gunning for the WWF title and the Macho Man. And Brutus Beefcake not done yet with IC champion Honky Tonk Man. We also heard promos. Bret Hart looking to exact revenge against that double-cross Bad News Brown. The Ultimate Warrior and Hercules still going at it. We may get some more Bam Bam Bigelow and one-man gang matches if Bigelow can return to the ring in time. Now, we also saw some other feuds being positioned here to take place. Steamboat Valentine, Harley Race, Jake Roberts, but those matches simply won't take place for very different reasons. Of course, the Dragon gone from the company, Harley Race out for a good 6 months. But we're not done yet. So much more to come here as April continues on. Looking forward to it and looking forward to being back here with you guys in 2 weeks' time. Remember, guys, as this show drops, we are in Orlando, Florida. I will not return until the middle of next week, which gives me absolutely no time to prepare, record, or edit another edition of The Grenade in the meantime. But we will be back in 2 weeks' time to continue on here. 2 more weeks of April TV for the World Wrestling Federation in 1988. In the meantime, stay tuned. You can follow and see what's going on by heading over to social media, following me on X at Wrestling Grenade. That's at RASSLIN Grenade. Also, follow and like me, Facebook.com/Wrestling Grenade. And be a part of it, talking about that $5 all-access tier over at Patreon.com/WrestleCopia. That address again, Patreon.com/WrestleCopia. 16 brand new digital downloads up right now, plus all sorts of other goodies and more coming very soon upon my return from vacation. But I just want to thank everyone once again, all of the loyal supporters, all of the tried and true listeners who have been here for weeks, months, even years. We're coming up on our 4th year anniversary, by the way, guys. And I want to thank you all again so very, very much. Be sure to leave me a 5-star review if you like what you're hearing here on The Grenade Show or any of the podcasts here on the WrestleCopia brand. Be sure to head over to Apple or many of the other podcast streaming platforms that allow you to leave reviews. Leave that 5-star review. Tell them why you like The Grenade Show and help to counteract, offset those haters. But enough said this week. I hope you guys had a great time here this week on the show. Going to be back in 2 weeks' time. Hope you're enjoying that spring weather. Spring is sprung. The weeds are out. The bees are out, at least in my neck of the woods. But we're going to close up shop here this week, as this is Ray Russell saying, from pillar to post and coast to coast. You pull the pin, and I'll pick up the pieces right here on the Wrestling Memory Grenade. I'll see you in 2 weeks. Don't miss it. Be there! Hey guys, you're invited to join us April 20th, Orlando, Florida at the fabulous Rosen Center Hotel for Barry Rose and Captain Nick Massey's Glory Days GrappleCon. Tickets available right now at eventbrite.com. It's a full day of events, meet and greet with dozens of your favorite wrestling superstars, both past and present. It all kicks off 10:30 in the morning. Ron Simmons, a special 1-hour Q&A session. Damn! Then from there, meet and greet all of the great superstars in attendance. Get your pictures, get your autographs, and spend some time. Have some conversations. Make a memory. Before we head off to the Legends of World Class reunion panel, hosted by former announcer Mark Lawrence. Just some of the names on the panel include Brian Adias, Al Perez, the one-man gang Missy Hyatt, and Jack Victory. They're going to go back in time and discuss their time in the world-class territory. Then from there, late in the evening, it's a shot of Jack with Jack Victory. So come on in, stop by, have a good time, have some drinks, and most assuredly, have quite a few laughs as well. Again, mark your calendars, April 20th, Orlando, Florida, the Rosen Center Hotel. It's the Glory Days GrappleCon. Get your tickets today over at eventbrite.com.